fits. Oakland is possibly fighting relocation battles again with Vegas, but it's not about the Raiders. And Bill Self faces the music for the first time since Snoop Dogg's controversial performance at Kansas. But first, our big story, the continuing developments between the NBA and China. The Lakers arrived in Shanghai today as more NBA promotional events were called off as part of the ongoing rift that started after Rockets GM Daryl Morey posted a tweet last week that showed support for anti-government protesters in Hong Kong. An NBA Cares event to benefit Special Olympics was canceled, and the league postponed scheduled media sessions for the Lakers and also for the Nets. Meanwhile, workers in multiple spots around Shanghai tore down large outdoor promotional advertisements for Thursday's Lakers-Nets game. It remains unclear if the teams will play in China this week as scheduled. ESPN NBA insider Dave McMenamin joins us on the phone from Shanghai with the latest. Dave, how are players reacting to this situation?
Jason, I'd say it's been cautious in their reaction. I was in the lobby of the team hotel for several hours today. Players from both teams, the Lakers and the Nets, shuffled in and out. I had brief interactions with several players. One player told me it's crazy, but for the most part, the players were reticent to really say anything other than maybe give you a nod, an empathetic look that they recognize that this is a situation that they're not necessarily prepared to handle, and the players are taking the cues from their team, and the team is taking their cues from the league, and that's why we're all kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop based on how Adam Silver and company advises everybody to continue in reacting to this situation.
Okay, with that being said then, Dave, who should be educating everybody on these issues so they can speak about it?
I certainly believe that the coaching staff, front offices, can have proactive conversations with the players on their teams. There are players in various NBA locker rooms that have experience playing in China. They can provide that unique experience for others in their locker room to try to consume and understand on a one-on-one basis. But really, I mean, this is an issue where unless a player has a particular education about it or something that touches their heart or their mind and feels the compulsion to speak up, I feel like, for the most part, we're not going to see too many players step into the fray here because everyone is well aware of the backlash that can exist by making a pithy remark or by, sharing a meme like Daryl Morey did to begin this whole international incident.
Well, to use two words that you just used, compulsion and backlash, we're used to NBA coaches particularly feeling empowered to speak out to issues that they're passionate about without fear for backlash. So is it right at some point to presume that NBA coaches will speak out on this issue now that it's made so globally aware?
Well, certainly the two coaches in the league with the biggest voice when it comes to domestic issues, when it comes to civil liberties, have been Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr has already incurred some skepticism, some criticism for the way that he said, hey, I need to learn more about this before I'm going to speak up. Greg Popovich made slightly more thorough comments on the situation, but didn't really totally delve into the topic the way he has delved into U.S. politics over the last several years. That being said, there's no line in the contract of these guys that say they need to continue to speak up on every issue that come across their plate. Now, this could lead some of the public to say that they're being hypocrites. Of course, that's what you expose yourself when you ever share something about yourself or share a side of yourself and then you don't provide consistency in continuing to share that side of yourself when other issues come up. At the same time, a lot of people feel the, compulsion, I don't want to use that word again, but they feel the, desire to fall in line and protect the brand, protect the team, protect the league that has provided so much for those members of the league and their family.
Dave, enjoy your first trip to China. Thank you so much for the insight from there. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, Jason.
The city of Oakland can't even hear the words Las Vegas in regards to their favorite teams and not shudder a little. Now, the conversation has nothing to do with the Raiders and instead has shifted to the A's. The team has been in the process of acquiring land in Oakland to build a new stadium, but a legal issue about land ownership may bring it all to a halt. A California judge has ordered an injunction stopping Alameda County from selling land to the team and instead forcing the county to negotiate with the city to allow the city to buy that land. In response, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred has told the city that if this becomes an issue, the A's could look at relocating possibly to Las Vegas. This, on top of the Raiders' relocation and the Warriors moving to their new arena in San Francisco, would leave Oakland without any pro sport franchises. For more on this situation, we're now joined by ESPN senior correspondent Sam Alipur. Sam, thanks for the time today. Start simply. Why does this keep happening to Oakland?
Well, as an East Bay native, the emotional answer is we're cursed and the world is out to get us. But I think a lot of it's an outdated way of thinking about the East Bay and of Oakland. The branding and business of Oakland is on the bounce back. It's growing and it's developing. And office space, I was just there last weekend, and where it was a ghost town in the past, there's bustling offices. I believe they have the lowest vacancy of office space in the nation, or among them. So they're looking for greener pastures, but we're seeing across the league, Chargers to LA, that the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Well, and with that being said, I think part of what is staggering for Oakland residents is to hear Las Vegas out of Rob Manfred's mouth. What was your reaction to hearing that city specifically?
Can I curse? You got to be beeping kidding me. I don't think there's a lot of there. I think Portland is in a better position to take a baseball team, for example. But this wasn't intellectual ground that he was standing on. He was picking at us. He was trolling, and effectively. This is a very emotional topic for us. And to lose one, potentially two teams to Vegas. Now, I believe you were born there, Jason, so excuse me, I'm coming from an emotional place, but that plastic city of lights is the polar opposite of the East Bay and Oakland and how we feel about ourselves out there. We're working class. We're not those fancy pants over there with the glitz and the glamour. And by the way, I'm talking about San Francisco as well, and losing with the Warriors to San Francisco. But you and I can get into this another time. But the Raiders are moving to a stadium. It's going to be half filled with cold-blooded suits and vacationers and tourists, and that's going to be an unmitigated disaster.
So, Sam, tell me, you mentioned the emotion quickly. What's the emotional impact to Oakland if they find themselves without any professional teams?
It's still emotional, as you can see. It's a sad story. It'll be a very, very sad story. So much of the East Bay's identity is wrapped up in these three teams. Now, I don't want to tie in the Warriors with these other two teams. They've had a graceful exit, and they are the Bay Area's team. There is no San Francisco team. But losing, all three at one time, it's devastating, to say nothing of the economic impact. These are jobs. These are good-paying jobs that keep our youth off the street that we're losing. It would be an unmitigated disaster and the end of my sports fandom. I don't even want to think about it.
Well, Sam, if there's anything I know, being a lifelong Raiders fan myself, you speak the same speech I've heard so much from people on Twitter, that this is, and social media, this is more than just a team. It's an identity for an entire area. And I want to respect that, even though, as you said, I'm from Las Vegas, so it's always conflicting. We do appreciate your time. Thanks for the perspective on everything as it continues to develop in Oakland, Sam.
Thank you, Jason.
Kansas basketball did what schools all over the country do every year. Kicked off its basketball season with a Midnight Madness event and a concert. I've been a part of these types of events in the past, and it's a great way to show off the importance of your program and get the school excited for what's to come. For that reason, the school had to feel great about getting Snoop Dogg to agree to perform. That is, until the actual performance. Girls dancing on stripper poles, cannons shooting out fake money, and a show that was not exactly family-friendly has created controversy around the event, the performance, and how it even happened. This as Kansas' season begins under scrutiny after the NCAA hit the program with a notice of allegations, including lack of institutional control and a failure to meet coaching responsibilities. Today, for the first time since this event, Coach Bill Self will speak to the media. Let's welcome in Mark Schwartz from Lawrence, Kansas, to help us figure it all out. I just mentioned we're going to hear from Coach today. What do you expect to hear from him in this?
Well, you know, Bill Self is an icon, Jason. He is a Hall of Famer. He has won or shared 14 consecutive Big 12 basketball crowns. He has taken Kansas to 3 Final Fours. He has won a championship here. He is fearless. And I think when it comes to the NCAA and the level 1 allegations that Kansas has been charged with, I think Bill Self is fearless. I think he will fiercely defend his turf against what the NCAA is alleging here, which is that the Adidas has had employees and associates who are what the NCAA calls boosters or agents for the University of Kansas. In particular, one of the players, Silvio De Sousa, a young man from Angola, is supposed to have had, his guardian was supposed to have had money funneled to him by an employee from Adidas. Bill Self may or may not know anything about that, but that is the central fact here. It's about Kansas's relationship with Adidas, and I think Bill Self in Kansas will probably tell the world, what does the NCAA have to do with our relationship with anybody?
Now, that being said, Mark, I think it's important that we categorize two things very differently here. Whatever's happening with the NCAA and Snoop Dogg are in very different categories. I wouldn't expect that Bill Self would be aware of all of the inner workings with Snoop Dogg. So if you have any sense, can you tell us what kind of communication there's been between the school and the artist about the performance specifically?
Well, I think one of the most important news developments after the concert was the statement from the athletic director, Jeff Long, here at Kansas, who said, I take total personal responsibility. I personally apologize to those who were offended. I thought that this was going to be a family-friendly show. I thought we were going to have a clean version of the Snoop Dogg show, and I didn't vet it completely. And as you know, Snoop Dogg was on the Howard Stern program yesterday, and he said, quote, when you pay for Snoop Dogg, you're going to get Snoop Dogg. He says Kansas knew exactly what it was getting. He spent time with both of the basketball teams. Yes, there were money guns shooting fake money at Kansas players and recruits. And yes, it was women with dancing on poles. And yes, there was a lot of explicit, unfiltered lyrics. But Snoop Dogg will tell you Kansas knew what it was getting, and he doesn't blame them for covering it up. But he says there's no question that they knew what this was going to be about.
Mark, you're obviously in Kansas. The social media outrage for this has been huge. But actually, within that program and the fans around it, has the reaction been that big with them?
Well, you know, the thing about it that's so interesting, I think, is that it's like a lot of other issues that come up involving college sports. If it's your program, even if it's Snoop Dogg spouting lyrics that you have to close your ears at, you still think it was fun. You still think it was entertaining. You support it on social media. I saw a 70-year-old Kansas alum say, I still thought it was entertaining. But if you're from Penn State, or if you're from Colorado or Oklahoma, you think that they should get the death penalty for bringing Snoop Dogg blowing money at their recruits. But, the kids here at Kansas loved the performance. They went on social media and went crazy, including a potential recruit, 6'11" kid named Javonte Brown Ferguson. He thought it was amazing. And when Bill Self walked through that record store and did that promo, just days, mind you, after the notice of allegations from the NCAA, he was wearing an Adidas shirt, he was wearing a money chain, he was walking in, strutting in to the music of Gin and Juice, that 90s anthem from Snoop Dogg, and then he picked up a Snoop Dogg CD and showed it to the camera. So I think everybody's in on this joke. The question is, will the NCAA be in on it? And I think not.
Mark, thank you so much for the perspective from Kansas. We appreciate it. I wish I was there to see the press conference go down today. As we always say in these situations, follow the money. If Snoop got paid for the performance, they likely knew what he was getting into. Mark, we appreciate your time. Thank you for hanging out with us. Coming up next, 2 simple facts. Zion can dunk, and he can make lots of cash. We'll